Christian, thank you so much for being here today. I really
honor.
appreciate it. It's an honor to talk to you, man.
Thanks, man.
So I want to start out by asking you, I think you've achieved status as a jazz icon at this point. I'm a huge Ken Burns fan, and when you popped up at the end of his jazz documentary, I'm like, wow, okay, that's for real. So what I'm curious about is, you're kind of walking in the footsteps of Miles and Mingus and Train and Mr. Carter.
No pressure, huh?
No pressure. Well, that's my question. Do you ever feel weighed down by that mantle? Is that a heavy burden to carry?
I don't consciously think of that. I mean, maybe I should, but I realize that that's too overwhelming to have on your conscious. If I pick up my instrument every day and I think to myself, okay, I have to do something on the level of Mr. Carter or Ray Brown or Paul Chambers or Mingus or Oscar Pettiford, I'm probably doomed, So I think at this point in my career, I'm comfortable playing how I play, but I'm always trying to get better. But I think if I consciously think of the lineage, that would freak me out a whole lot.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So what about the opposite of that? Going forward, are you trying to do you feel as though you're trying to give jazz a new voice? Is there any conscious thought of carrying the tradition forward?
Well, I think there is a fine line between being free enough to contribute to the tradition or to the canon or whatever with your own voice. But at the same time, I always feel like you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. So you got to know something about your history. So even though I consciously don't think of like, okay, Mingus did that, so I'll have to do this too. I also never think, well, because Mingus did that, I'm not, or I shouldn't do that. Right. Because I know there's a lot of musicians that feel like they have to consciously break away from tradition in order to create something new. I'm not sure I agree with that because at least I found that all of the greatest innovators in jazz are ones that actually embrace history or people who actually incorporated some form of history into their new sound.
That's right.
I think of somebody like John Coltrane. John Coltrane was an R&B saxophone player at one point in his career, He played bebop, he played hard bop, he played R&B. I mean, he played a little bit of everything, so there was all this history wrapped up in his playing. Same thing with Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix had so much road experience playing with other people that when he created his own voice, all it was an amalgam of all the stuff that he learned before. There was never this, Muddy Waters did this, so I'm not going to do that. B.B. King did that, so I'm not going to do that. He put all of that in there. You know what I mean?
So in a sense, you're just sort of living in the moment and making the music that
living
occurs
in the
to
moment.
you.
That's really all you have.
Yeah.
No one's ever correctly predicted the future. Well, maybe Nostradamus, but even his batting average wasn't 1,000. It was maybe 900, but it's not 1,000.
And is it? Does it ever, for lack of a better word, annoy you to be sort of? Do you feel typecast at all, or do you feel that you are accepted in the wider musical circle?
That's a good question. I think I did feel that way for a long time.
No longer.
I finally got over it because the truth of the matter is rarely do people see you the way you see yourself. At least I think that's what my experience has been. Like most people, like I think of myself as sort of like, I never at any point in my career thought of myself as like strictly a hard bop, straight ahead, post bop bass player.
Okay.
I thought of myself as a professional bassist who can play any kind of music that I'm called for, because that's what professional musicians do.
That's right.
If I'm playing in a rock band, it shouldn't be strange that I can play in the rock band. What should be strange is that I wouldn't be interested in learning how to do it to make the music work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's a whole lot of professional musicians who don't necessarily become household names, and they do everything. People that play on Broadway or they play in, pit orchestras, TV shows, they got to play a little bit of everything.
That's right.
They got to learn country music, R&B, pop, jazz. They got to learn it all. So I've always viewed myself as a professional first.
So you've learned it all. You feel that you could step into, if somebody called you for a country gig tomorrow, would you feel comfortable?
I will certainly shed real hard
all right.
to make sure I could do it.
Right on.
I get every country record. I listen to every Lightning Chance recording I could, make sure I get it right.
Yep, absolutely.